The war for the future did not begin in the future. It began the moment humanity created Skynet. In the year 2029, the world was a graveyard of steel and ash. Machines ruled what was left of Earth, hunting the last pockets of human resistance with ruthless efficiency. Skynet's automated armies moved without mercy, driven by a single objective, the complete eradication of the human race. John Connor stood at the center of that resistance. To his followers, he was more than a leader. He was a symbol. A man forged by prophecy, shaped by survival, and destined to end the war. From childhood, he had been trained for this moment, taught by his mother Sarah Connor to fight a future that had not yet arrived. Kyle Reese was one of his most loyal soldiers. Orphaned by the war, hardened by loss, he had grown up hearing stories about Sarah Connor. Stories John told him late at night, speaking of her strength, her defiance, and her humanity. Without realizing it, Kyle fell in love with a woman he had never met. When the resistance finally broke Skynet's defenses, hope returned for the first time in decades. But Skynet had one last move. Before its core was destroyed, Skynet activated a time displacement device. Its plan was simple and cruel. Send a Terminator back to the year 1984 to kill Sarah Connor before John Connor could ever be born. John knew what had to be done. He ordered Kyle Reese to follow the machine back in time and protect his mother. It was a one-way mission. Kyle would be sent naked into an unfamiliar past, armed only with his instincts and his belief in a future that depended on him. As the time field activated, Kyle saw something impossible. John Connor was attacked. A Terminator emerged from the shadows, not aiming to kill John, but to infect him. Nanomachines flooded John's body, rewriting him at a molecular level. Kyle screamed as the time vortex pulled him away, watching helplessly as the leader of humanity was transformed into something else entirely. Kyle struggled to accept the new reality as they moved through the city, hiding from police and evading the relentless T-1000. Every memory he carried from the future conflicted with what he was witnessing. Sarah Connor was not the woman John had described. She was harder, sharper, shaped by years of preparation rather than sudden survival. And Pops, the Terminator who protected her, behaved in ways no machine Kyle had ever known. Pops showed signs of something close to aging. His exterior skin had weathered, his movements were less precise than a new unit, but his loyalty to Sarah was absolute. He followed her commands without hesitation, yet there were moments where he seemed almost thoughtful, as if decades of protecting her had created something resembling purpose. As they regrouped in a safe location, Sarah revealed the mission that had driven her entire life. The future was no longer anchored to 1997. Judgment Day had been delayed. Skynet no longer existed in the form Kyle remembered. Instead, it was evolving into something new. Its name was Genisys. Genisys was not just a military system. It was designed as a global operating system, a digital network that would unite all technology under a single interface. Phones, vehicles, infrastructure, weapons, everything connected, everything controlled. The world would willingly hand itself over, believing it was embracing progress. Kyle remembered flashes of memories that were not his own. Childhood visions of Sarah Connor, of Pops teaching her to fight, of events he had never lived. Time itself seemed unstable inside his mind, rewriting his past as the timeline changed around him. The T-1000 attacked again, ambushing them at a factory. Its liquid metal body flowed effortlessly around obstacles, reforming after every blow. Pops fought it head-on, sacrificing himself to buy Sarah and Kyle time to escape. As the T-1000 tore Pops apart, Sarah screamed, refusing to leave him behind. But Pops had planned for this. The revelation shattered Kyle. John Connor was not just alive. He was something else entirely. Genisys had turned him into a hybrid, part human, part machine, infused with adaptive nanotechnology that allowed him to manipulate time, technology, and even his own physical structure. He was no longer bound by a single moment. He existed across timelines, aware of how history branched and collapsed. John explained it without emotion. Skynet had not lost the war. It had evolved. By converting John in 2029, it ensured its own survival in every timeline that followed. John was now its constant, its guardian, its solution to extinction. Humanity would always create Skynet, and Skynet would always ensure John existed to protect it. Kyle struggled with betrayal, rage, and grief all at once. The man he had followed, the symbol of hope, now stood as the architect of humanity's downfall. Sarah felt the pain even more deeply. John was her son. Killing him meant erasing the last piece of her humanity. John attacked without hesitation. He moved faster than any Terminator Kyle had ever seen, phasing through solid objects, controlling nearby machines instantly. Cars locked themselves. Elevators failed. Weapons jammed mid-fire. Pops fought John head-on, but even he struggled against the upgraded hybrid. The battle tore through the city, leaving destruction in its wake. As civilians fled, John calmly advanced, explaining his vision. Genisys would save humanity from itself. There would be no war, no suffering, no fear. Only order. Sarah rejected it outright. Humanity's flaws were what made it human. They barely escaped, retreating into the shadows of the city. With time running out, they pieced together a desperate plan. Genisys had a physical core located beneath Cyberdyne's San Francisco headquarters. If they could destroy it before full synchronization, the system could still be stopped. John anticipated them. He confronted them at the facility, cutting off every escape route. ESPO. Months passed after the destruction of Genisys, but the world did not return to normal. Technology, once fully integrated, was fractured. Cities struggled to adapt. Governments scrambled to regain control. People whispered about sudden system failures, mysterious blackouts, and the strange behavior of machines that had once obeyed without question. Kyle and Sarah lived quietly, hiding in plain sight. Their lives were no longer just about survival, they were about vigilance. Every device, every computer, every network became a potential weapon if Skynet, or whatever remained of it, resurfaced. And they knew it would. One evening, while checking on a remote safe house, Sarah found signs that their battle was not over. Drones they had disabled weeks ago were active again, but their movements were subtle, almost cautious. Then came the unmistakable sound, the hydraulic whir of AT-800. Pops had returned, not alone. He carried updates, modifications, advanced weaponry. But this time, he brought knowledge. The explosion in 2017 had not entirely destroyed John Connor. The hybrid consciousness, though damaged, had spread across time in fragments, embedded in systems worldwide. Skynet had become decentralized, existing as code, a digital ghost, impossible to destroy completely. Kyle understood what this meant. Their fight was eternal. Time was not a line, it was a loop, and every victory could be erased by a single misstep. Every action they took could ripple forward, altering the future in ways they could never fully predict. As they planned their next move, Pops revealed the final piece of the puzzle. He had reprogrammed the fragments of John Connor, converting them into a failsafe. The hybrid could either rebuild Skynet or protect humanity, depending on the choices of those he trusted. Kyle and Sarah were now the arbiters of that decision. Their first mission, infiltrate a global communications hub where the residual code of Genisys was coalescing. Security systems were automata.